Welcome to Archetypes of the East. Hexagram 24 deals with hope, renewal, and the restoration of light after a season of darkness. These are the first signs of spring stirring, and new life and abundance are waiting to be born anew, like strength and vigor returning after an illness. I Ching is forecasting the arrival of vitality, new beginnings, and a return to health and wellness. Though things appear desolate after a harsh winter, as in seasons of life, there is a stirring of quiet new energy ready to break forth. The emergence of new life is quiet at first, but it will gain momentum as the old cycle finally completes. The principle of this hexagram is the dawn of a new cycle. Hexagram 24 represents the resurrection of light. After the stripping away of hexagram 23 in the previous stage of life, a single yang line reappears at the bottom of the hexagram. The mountain has leveled out into the earth, and now thunder stirs beneath it. This is the turning point where the downward momentum of decay is replaced with the upward momentum of growth. Protect the new spark. The emergence of new life is quiet at first. Because this vitality is in its infancy, it's incredibly vulnerable. The I Ching advises a period of rest and convalescence. Just as one doesn't run a marathon the day after a major fever breaks, the seeker must not rush into this new beginning. Allow the quiet new energy to stabilize before asking it to perform. Don't be discouraged if the outside world or your circumstances still look desolate or like a harsh winter. The shift has already occurred deep within the foundation of your circumstance. Trust the stirring that you feel initially, internally, more than the emptiness that you see externally in your outside world. Just like the return to health and wellness after a sickness, this hexagram suggests going back to your original path or your core self that was lost during the complexities of previous hexagrams. It's a homecoming to your true nature after a season of darkness and difficulty. The energy of hexagram 24 is cool, still, and expectant. It's the white space between the end of the old and the beginning of the new. The energy is upward, but it's still deep beneath the surface of the earth. This hexagram represents the archetype of healing after a difficult time. It gives the mandate of reflection, a time to correct past mistakes and to reflect upon past deeds. The return of the light is also a return to clarity. This isn't about guilt, it's about applying lessons learned. You're resetting your internal compass so that when the momentum picks up, you're headed in the right direction when the season finally turns in your favor. The hope that arises from this hexagram is subtle. Do not look for a lightning bolt or a grand gesture or a grand opening. Look for a small stirring. That's like a renewed interest in a hobby, a sudden feeling of peace, or a quiet new energy regarding a project or new endeavor. If you treat this subtle force with respect, it will eventually become the abundance that you seek. The action to take in this hexagram is convalescence. The oracle suggests that your vitality is returning, but your system is still sensitive. Protect your headspace. Avoid dark influences or stressful environments that might snuff out your first spark. The image of hexagram 24 states, Earth over thunder. Thunder within the earth, the image of the turning point. The kings of old closed the mountain passes at the time of the solstice to limit travel. Merchants and strangers did not go about during the time to conserve their energy and their resources, and leaders did not travel through the provinces until the season changed. The closing off of the passes means cutting off the external world for a time to focus on the internal. The thunder or the movement is buried deep within the earth in its stillness. This means that your power is currently being stored within this new cycle. Don't spend it yet. Let the vigor within you build up, and then on the 7th day after a completion of the cycle, it will begin to work in its new season. Energy is gradually surfacing into the new season. As spring life is fragile initially, rest and recover fully before engaging with life's demands. Wait for the new cycle to reach fullness to regain full vitality and action. The judgment of hexagram 24 states, return brings forth success. The seasons of life come and go without fail. Friends reunite and new energy arrives without blame. The natural cycles go to and fro endlessly through time. On the 7th day of the week comes the return of a new cycle. It furthers one to have a plan, a goal, or a destination. This is about harmonizing with the tides of life and time. The judgment is a green light, but it's a gentle green light. It confirms that the success that you seek now is mathematically and cosmically inevitable because you have passed the turning point. The 7th day here represents the natural law of completion. the understanding that everything in the universe has a rhythm that must be respected. This is the normalization of the flow of life, the coming and going without error. Life is no longer a landslide like it was in Hexagram 23. It's a cycle. You're being reunited with positive influences, and your vitality is beginning to stir. The Oracle's most important advice is to let it be. Quietly develop the new to its fullest potential before revealing it. Like a sprout pushing through the soil, the new beginning is strongest when it's allowed to grow undisturbed. In the realm of career, goals, and ambition, let novel ideas develop at their own pace. Avoid forcing progress. Allow natural momentum to build first. In the realm of relationships and social flow, this is the time to reconnect or to rediscover the habits, routines, and values that bring out the best in you and your person. Celebrate the first signs of growth when deciding to go into a newer, healthier direction, which brings you a greater connection. A changing line 1. Choosing to return from a small distance away from error towards renewal. There is no need for regret, as this brings great good fortune. This is the preemptive reset. Line 1 is the first spark of light. Because it's at the very bottom, it represents the earliest possible moment of renewal. You haven't wandered miles into the darkness. You've only taken a few steps off of the good path. The great good fortune comes from the fact that you didn't wait for a collapse like in Hexagram 23 to force you back. This is the need to correct small errors right away in order to get back on track. This is the highest form of discipline, whether it's a slight deviation in a project's budget, a minor lie in a relationship, or a thought that begins to fester. You address it immediately. By refusing to feed the error, you preserve the great good fortune that you have coming to you. The line states that there is no need for remorse. The Oracle is incredibly forgiving here. It suggests that making a mistake isn't the problem. It's staying in the mistake. Once you make the U-turn, the error is erased. Don't carry the weight of what if. Focus on the renewal that is happening now. The internal application of this line regards mental hygiene, by not letting certain thoughts circulate. It's the moment when you catch resentment, a fear, or a dark influence and choose to return to your truest self. You are the gatekeeper of your own vitality. This is fixing the minor error at work, or the "I'm sorry" that's said 5 minutes after a snap judgment. It's the realization that you're headed for burnout and choosing to take a day off before you crash. The I Ching says, the shorter the detour, the sweeter the return. A changing line 2. A quiet and positive return brings influences to assist with renewal, good fortune. Line 2 is the effortless pivot. Line 2 is a yin line, but it rests directly upon the yang line spark of line 1. In the geometry of the I Ching, this is the perfect position. You don't have to be a hero or the spark yourself. You simply have to have the humility and the wisdom to follow your light. Helpful and positive influences will assist you. This is about social and professional proximity. You've recognized someone, a mentor, a partner, or even a superior version of yourself who is already moving toward renewal, and you have quietly aligned your path with theirs. There is no ego here, no shouting from the rooftops. It's just a quiet and positive shift. This line is talking about being on the right path and being in balance. Unlike the struggle in the previous hexagram, line 2 is characterized by ease. If you find yourself pushing too hard or forcing your progress, you have missed the quiet nature of this line. Rebirth and regeneration are now organic processes. This is the time to relinquish your ego. You don't need to take the lead. You just need to be in the flow. By being approachable and supportive, you allow the new life around you to be nourished. This is the line of seeing a colleague adopt a healthier work-life balance and quietly following their lead, or joining a group of people who are focused on healing and wellness. The I Ching says you don't always have to be the one who starts the fire. Sometimes the wisest thing that you can do is just stand near the warmth and then follow it. A changing line 3. One is inconsistent with returning to the good path, struggling with their resolve, consistently turning from the path and then back again. There is danger in not breaking this cycle. To stay constant brings no blame, as this defective strength can be overcome. Be brave. This line is talking about forging consistency. Line 3 sits at the top of the inner trigram of thunder. It's at a place of high tension and transition. This line represents someone who has the spark of line 1 and the alignment of line 2, but lacks the deep rooting. You're in a loop of sorts, returning to your true self only to be pulled back into the decay of your old self. This line is talking about the risk of relapse. There is instability, the constant back and forth slow progress. The danger here is that you will eventually lose the will to keep returning to the good path. Each time you deviate, you have to restart, and you burn viable energy and vitality. However, the Oracle offers no blame. Why? Because as long as you're attempting to return, you haven't surrendered to the collapse. To stay constant brings no blame. This is a paradox. It means that the act of constantly choosing to come back, even after a failure, is a form of constancy. But the goal is to be brave and find the strength to stay on the path once you get there. You're building muscle memory for your soul. In struggling with resolve, it's important to identify the trigger. Look at what pulls you away. Is it an inferior influence? Is it an old habit? To break the cycle, you must treat each return as a permanent homecoming and not a temporary visit. This is the line of a person who quits a bad habit on Monday and relapses on Friday, only to start again on the following Monday. The I Ching says, the fact that you keep coming back is proof that you haven't lost your way, but you'll never see the view from the top if you keep returning to the trailhead. A changing line 4. Walking together in the midst of the errors of others, one chooses to return alone. This line is talking about social autonomy. Line 4 is a yin line, but it's in a unique position. It has a direct correspondence with the yang of line 1. While everyone else in the upper trigram is still walking the old patterns of the collapse or their old life, line 4 looks down, sees the light, and chooses to walk towards it. This is about moral independence. The advice here is to have courage in isolation. Make the right choice even if it means being alone. You're currently in the company of individuals who are not on the right path. This could be a corporate culture of duct tape fixes, a social circle addicted to drama, or a group that refuses to evolve. Returning alone isn't a failure of popularity, it's a triumph of integrity. This line is asking one to break away from unworthy connections and influences. It's the price of admission for a new cycle to begin. If you wait for the others to join you, you will stay trapped in their negative patterns. The Oracle promises good fortune specifically because of this choice. Your isolation here is actually a sanctuary from bad fortune. Have faith in this moral choice, and good fortune will await you. This line is the antidote for the repeated return of line 3. Instead of wavering, you make the clean break. You aren't just returning to a path, you're returning to your core principles and your truest self. This is the line of the person who stops drinking even if all their friends are still at the bar, or an employee who refuses to join the office gossip. It's the realization that you'd rather be alone on the right road than in the midst of a crowd on the wrong one. The I Ching says the most important return you will ever make is the one you make by yourself. A changing line 5. One is noble-hearted in their convictions, choosing return towards renewal. There are no regrets in setting matters right once again. This is about returning to the correct path with honor. Line 5 is the ruler of the hexagram. While line 1 was the quick pivot and line 4 was the solitary choice, line 5 is the grand realignment. It's called magnanimous because it's done with a noble heart and a clear conscience. There is no shame in this return, only an undeniable devotion to doing what is right. The choice to return is based on one's inner convictions. It's not a forced change, it's an authentic pursuit. Because you're acting from your core principles, you have no regrets in setting matters right again. If you have strayed, this is the moment for graceful rehabilitation. You don't slink back. You walk back with your head held high. This is about putting aside one's pride to make things right again. Sometimes the most noble thing you can do is to confess a fault. In relationships or social flow, this is the peace offering. By prioritizing healing over your ego, you ensure a lasting success. Because line 5 is considered a position of leadership, your return here serves as an example to others. You're demonstrating that the light has truly returned to your life through your convictions. A changing line 6. Misfortune comes from within oneself and from outside circumstances for not choosing to return. If one sets forth in this condition, they will experience great suffering and defeat, like a short-sighted general mobilizing an unorganized army. This is especially disastrous for a leader and those under their influence. The chance for a return to renewal may not come after a long period of time for their obstinacy. This is the ultimate warning and the danger of obstinacy. Line 6 is the shadow of the return. While the light of line 1 has been stirring at the bottom, line 6 is at the absolute peak of the upper trigram of Earth. It's too far away, too short-sighted, or too entrenched in old patterns to feel the shift towards goodness. This is the point of no return. Just like the short-sighted general mobilizing an unorganized army, you cannot force a return through aggressive outward action if you haven't done the internal work first. If you mobilized while confused, you invite calamity from within and without. The misfortune is both a result of your own choices, internal, and the outside circumstances that no longer support your old ways. There is a slight subtext to this particular line that suggests that one could have been twisted by innuendo or suggestion. This is a brilliant insight into the confusion of this line. Sometimes obstinacy isn't just about stubbornness, it's the result of subversion. If you follow lies or you allow lies and suggestions to cloud your sight, you'll miss the turning point entirely. You must have a desire to know the truth to clear the air. The oracle does suggest, however, that there is still time to turn back. The oracle warns that if you miss this window, the opportunity for renewal may vanish for a period of 10 years, or it may not reappear or come back to you again after a long period of time. This is the tragic state for a leader. If you're in a position of authority, your refusal to evolve doesn't just destroy you, it destroys the kingdom that you preside over, which could be your team, your family, or your project. This is the blockbuster video moment, clinging to an outdated business model while the digital return is happening all around you. It's the toxic relationship where one person refuses to acknowledge the truth until the other has moved on for good. The I Ching says, the train is leaving the station. You can either get on now or you can wait a decade for the next one. That concludes Hexagram 24. If you found this helpful in understanding this hexagram, I hope that you liked the video. Subscribe to follow this series along, and in the next lesson, we'll look at Hexagram 25, Innocence and the Unexpected. See you then.